turn Wally up. Hey Google, turn Wally off. I'm counting.
If I'm not mistaken, his face is a haddock. Cheer up, pig, don't you cry. The special offer on fish pie.
Why does my mic pick up someone in another room? I can pick you up on my microphone. Shut up. PDA. So this is the name I'm choosing for my duck. He's called Dak. Say hi to Dak, everybody. He's gonna say hi back. Now I'm not sure if that should be his voice or not. I'm still deciding. I'm gonna have to turn this music off. Just waiting for
What music?
the music of the game.
The music of the game is so cute.
No. Do you want to say hello to Dak?
Sure.
Okay, he's gonna say hello back. Say hello, Dak.
Hello, Dak. It sounds like that duck has diarrhea.
I don't know what to do with his voice. The music puts me off big time. I don't know whether to do them all like.
Turn off the
I don't know whether to do them all like Pokemon and just say Dak, 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 Dak. Shall I do that? Shall I do them all like Pokemon?
That's your stream. You decide.
Dak, Dak, Dak. Dak, Dak, Dak. Everything I do can hear her voice in the fucking background.
I couldn't hear her.
Listen. Dak, Dak, Dak.
Do it. Play again.
Dak, Dak, Dak.
It's not obvious. If you didn't say, I didn't pay attention to it. So you went to yell at her.
Nah, shut the fucking door.
Thank God.
Oh my god. Oh. Now, I can either go down the Pokemon route and do funny things that way. Yeah, Lynn told me to get it, so I don't know what to do. I don't know whether to do them like Pokemon. So he's like, listen, I'll do it again. Duck, 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 duck. Duck, 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 duck. I don't know, this fucking stand is driving me nuts. So let's try that. Duck, 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 duck. Duck, duck. Duck, duck. Duck. That's cursed. I don't have a Burger King crown. I will not do that. That's loud.
Perfect.
That's loud. Give me another animal. Oh, guys, it's gonna drive me nuts. Oh
Just
no!
don't go near it.
I'm not near it. I'm not fucking near him. He's fucking harassing me. All right, what do I do?
Adopted another one.
Oh, I want to be a frog.
Oh! Oh my god, that frog is so cute.
I want to be a frog. So what do I do?
Adopt another animal.
I can't.
Click the profile picture.
Oh.
Click the second one. There you go.
You motherfucker!
Why do we...
You motherfucker! Motherfucker!
Oh, I go again.
You motherfucker! You motherfucker!
That one is so cursed.
You mud.
Hey, don't... Why do you change it? It's funny.
I gotta get rid of the laughter in my voice when I do it. Motherfucker. 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 Nah, it's not good enough. I have to do it again. Motherfucker.
You're wasting the money.
I don't care. Motherfucker. What about... Ah, hello! Context, my girlfriend Lynn CeeLo, she is Chinese and she finds it hilarious. Ah, hello!
I know.
Oh wow, just
I
she's laughing. Ah, hello, she walk. Ah, hello, she walk.
Wow.
Darling, do you like Mongolians? No. Perfect. You goddamn Mongolians! You goddamn Mongolians!
I don't hate them.
There's a thing on South Park. Mr. Chang, I think it is. He hates the Chinese. And he goes, God damn you Mongolians! Get off my fucking wall! And his takeaway is called City Walk. But the way they go, hello, welcome to She Walk. Fuck are you, dolphin? Fuck are you, whale? Fuck are you, dolphin? Fuck are you?
Get banned.
I don't know what to do. I think motherfucker is better. Motherfucker. 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 Oh, I got a better one. That bitch, motherfucker. That bitch, motherfucker. Yeah. that bitch, motherfucker. Wait, that don't make sense. Let me just go back here. Let me go back. I'm trying to think of something you say all the time. Other than motherfucker, that bitch.
You're making people think I say that all the fucking time.
You literally just said fucking in that.
Oh.
I wish I could get like a bit of my stream where you're saying something and put it as CeeLo. So bad. It'd be so funny.
I can name all the people in the South.
Yes.
You should name the dumb Mr. Duck.
The dumbest, the duck. Oh, technically I should, yeah.
Well, I thought we have someone called Mr. Duck in the South.
We do. We do.
That's why I remember the name.
Yeah. Drink hot water. I punch you in the belly. Drink hot water. I punch you in. I don't know why I gotta do that accent. I don't know why I gotta do it.
That's the accent itself?
No, I'm just making fun, baby. I'm trying to think.
Move along. Next one. Come on.
No, this is one of the most important ones.
Quick.
I would have you saying quick if I could. Quick. You say that a lot.
I don't think.
How do I do an eye roll as a sound? How do I do an eye roll as a sound?
That one's not funny.
I don't know. I think it was pretty funny.
No, it's not.
Motherfucker. Motherfucker. I don't know the way it picks up me breathing. Motherfucker. Motherfucker. I prefer that. There we go. That. Motherfucker. That. Just. That. Motherfucker. Oh, there's a cat.
It looks like a wolf or dog. Wait, what's that say? Freezing cold. Oh,
It's a penguin. Who should be a penguin?
penguin? I don't know.
Is there... What's French? I'm just going to have to go in
Oh, look
order.
at the owl.
I'm going to go in order.
Oh, it's a goat. Huh.
I'm the role that wins. I'm the role that wins. I can't think of anything else I make fun of with and with.
Just one time he make a really weird sound. I think it's like his wife scare him.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't remember what it was.
Like, that just
I can't remember what... Should I go... Should I do that?
yeah, why not?
Ooh,
It just got stuck in my head.
ooh. 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 Motherfucker. Yeah. Oh, it's a fox. Many moons ago, this would have to be me.
Oh, that.
I was Mr. Fox.
That face expression a bit like you.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. But what noise should I? What should I do?
What's their actual voice?
What, a fox?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just gonna do that. I'm just gonna do that. Yeah.
It sounds like you're gonna cook too.
Yeah. That's, yeah. That's cursed. Wait.
Oh,
Yeah. That hurts my ears. I think Wyvern's the best.
we should have some. I will add them.
I need to find like a French animal. I don't know who should be the penguin. Who should be the penguin? Obviously, I'm going to do the people we speak to most. Who lives somewhere cold? Howls. Oddie. I'm tempted to do Shan as a penguin. That could be quite funny. I'm also trying to remember noises that Luke makes. And I can only think of a few. And I can't voice them on here. I don't know. I don't know. This is hard. Oh, it's got to be Frosty, innit?
I don't know when you mentioned house, somehow the penguin matches her.
Yeah, but Frosty's
She's the
Frosty.
calm one.
This penguin's not going to be calm.
Okay, Frosty then.
Just Frosty because it matches. Wyvern, do you remember when your wife scared you and you went, ah! And you like, you jumped? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's Frosty. Wyvern.
What's that fox?
And Lynn asked me what noise a fox makes, so... And there's Frosty. This is my favourite, by far.
It said you will pay. Bring it on.
Who should be the duck?
Mr. Duck.
Don't know. Who plays GGD a lot apart from Wyvern?
Me.
Oh, Femduck. Femduck could be a duck.
Yeah. That's her name.
Or Hitomi.
No, he told me. She's so cute.
I don't know then. You don't understand how hard these games are for me.
Just come up with all kinds of names.
Bye, With. The duck's got to be someone.
Fred
Fuck.
Duck. Don't change that. It was a perfect.
And now I've got to think of something Georgia says. Oh, I've got something. I've got tickets for the West End. I've got tickets for the West End. Perfect. I've got tickets for the West End. Just that was weird. CeeLo whispered in my ear. Mad. These, I think these two are my favourites. Just hearing the fox in the background going, yeah. Oh god. Now this one's difficult because it's going to be an insult to whoever I put it as.
Why?
Because it's a fucking walrus.
I don't get it. So it's worse. What's wrong with that?
Fat and ugly.
Oh, that's the reason?
Yeah. Who the fuck is Nashville Hot? Oh. I don't know who to do is this.
Put my name on it then.
No.
Oh, no. Put someone you hate.
I don't hate a lot of people.
Pick the one you hate the most.
No, because that means I'm giving them attention.
You won't know.
I got one.
Yeah, well, I'll think about her for a second.
Got to try and think of a noise. Got to try and think of a noise. Hang on, I got one.
She made that noise.
No, it's just when she speaks. That's what I hear. A polar bear. Who should be the polar bear?
Looks like a not so wise polar bear.
Are you saying a dumb polar bear? So you
I
saying?
didn't say that. I just
Are you-
said not so wise.
Are you saying it should be Oddie? Is that what you're saying?
Wow.
Because I looked at him and thought Oddie. I wasn't going to put Oddie because I don't associate him with a bear. But that's what you're saying. That's on you. No?
I didn't
Okay.
say it's Odie.
Okay.
Wow. How dare you blame it on me?
Does anybody live near a reindeer?
How?
I don't think so. Holidays are coming. Holidays are coming. Holidays are coming. Ooh,
Oh, I like this one.
ooh. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What
I
happened?
don't know who could be a parrot. Who's annoying? I can think of a lot of annoying people.
Zix.
No, I've got the best one for this. Daddy, 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 daddy.
Oh my god. You have to show him this. Flamingo.
For some reason, I thought Shirley.
I bet.
Oh my god, you want to go to the gala, the art gala? Oh my god, you want to go to the gala, the art? Oh no, I've got something better. Yap 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 yap. I'm gonna send it to Shirley.
I'm dying. That was so good.
You see what I've written, server? Yap 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 yap. Who stays up all night? Yeah, but you're always the sheep. Who else stays up all night?
Snails.
Yeah, but he's not being an owl. Not on my watch. Not when there's a chance of there being a fucking snail. I thought howdy for a second.
Oh, it does give out healthy vibe.
It's definitely not Luke or me or Joel. We're all sleepy.
Go Fabi Captain.
Nah, he's sleepy. Just trying to think of someone who's always online. It's not inbred enough to be Shan. He's like a wise old owl.
Your mom?
Definitely not my mum. Definitely not. Absolutely not. Mega because it's funny. Who? 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 Why is it all birds? Oh, America! It's got to be Oddie. America! America! Daddy. Daddy. Who has luscious
Oh, the
hair?
parrot. Oh.
I'm telling you this is Howdy, but it's a boy. people I like.
Who has the long hair?
I think Snails has long hair, but he's not being a lion. He's being a snail.
How do you know he's had long hair?
Because I remember him saying he had long hair. And I also still remember stuff Luke sayings, which isn't, which I can actually say on stream. See, this is why this game's difficult for me, because I care.
That's what makes it funnier when you look back.
Do you reckon you could flash a spear? Do you reckon you could flash a spear? This has got to be another horrible person, a rhino.
Why is a horrible person?
Because rhinos are big and fat.
It's just animals.
But if I'm naming the people, they hold context. Smash! Smash! Oh, I don't know. I don't know, Bubby. I don't know what to call him.
Who's that?
It's a rhino. Oh, that's me. That's my player when we used to play clubs. So my pro on FIFA. My old FIFA friends used to call him the Rhino because I used to shrug people off and score a screamer. Elite's number 7.
Put it on there.
No.
You have a background story for that.
No. I can't remember our team name. Elite was my team name. We were either AC McGran or... Smash. Alright, just because I don't want to insult anyone by calling them a rhino. Oh, there's another fat. There's loads of fat things coming up. The last one's a snail.
You're overthinking it.
The last one is a snail, Lynn.
Oh, they're actual snails.
Ah, but
Why are they so expensive?
Frosty can be a chipmunk as well.
Maybe another Frosty then. This is a hippo? Who's Gloria?
From Madagascar. Do you reckon you could flash a spear? Smash.
Wait, why doesn't?
Do you reckon you could flash a spear? Why is it so good? Flash a spear. I was tempted to do the elephant as, where's my elephant?
Oh, that's the best. Oh. It's a bear? Has to be a bear. Another unwise bear.
No, bears are cool. Wait,
It's cute.
what do you mean unwise bear?
Your face looks like unwise. You wearing that hoodie makes you. It kind of looks like you.
Oh. 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 Why does it fit so good? Oh. Let me just walk away. Let me. Oh.
That's for the West End.
Yeah. Yeah.
Motherfucker.
Holidays are coming. Holidays are coming.
Mother.
Oh, that's Joanne. That looks like a raccoon. Oh, it's a tiger. I don't know tiger.
I would pick this to be me.
Because the zodiac.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Baby. Oh. Oh.
That's so good.
Oh no.
Just gorilla.
It's so dirty. Get him off this plane! Chuck him off this plane! Chuck him off this plane! I don't think I can keep that. I think I have to change that.
I don't get it.
Chuck that nasty bitch off this plane! Chuck that nasty bitch off this plane! Oh, hey, Chloe. Would you like a tour? Would you like a tour around my zoo? Yeah? Okay.
For the West End.
Who?
I've got tickets for the West End.
Down here, Shirley.
Yap, 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 yap,
As you can tell, that really sounds like her.
yap, 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 yap.
Up here, we got Femduck.
I've got tickets for the West End.
Over here, we have Meg.
Yap, yap. I've got tickets for the
Up here, we've got Oddie.
America!
Daddy, daddy, daddy,
Down here, we have Maximus.
America!
daddy, 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 yap, yap,
Over here.
motherfucker,
Ooh.
motherfucker,
Ooh.
motherfucker.
And up there, Lynn asked me what noise a fox makes. So I,
Motherfucker.
so loud. This is my old friend Sea Bear, who I don't play with anymore. And obviously Frosty. Down here we have Holiday. Holidays are coming. Holidays are coming. The most annoying sound in the world. Oh. And Lynn said he looked like an unwise bear. Oh. And down here we have Ziggs. Shut this blade. I don't even want to talk about that. Do you reckon you could flash a spear?
Yap, yap,
Smash.
yap, 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 yap.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's a panda. The final guess. How does panda sound? I've never heard them. How dare you put my full name on that?
But you just told everyone it was your full name.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, if there wasn't a snail. If there wasn't a snail.
Sloth. Oh.
Who takes forever to talk?
Remember in the Zootopia, the sloth in there. I don't remember their name though. Oh yeah, that's the name. The way he laughed.
Still debating what to do as Chloe. Nothing strikes me as French.
I wonder what's this. Oh, find them. Maybe the bunny.
This might be a beaver or something. I gotta wait for a while for money.
Go here.
Hmm.
But which ones have 55?
Oh.
When they talk.
Oh.
Mhm.
Chuck that nasty bitch off this plane.
Wait, that one's 40. That
Hey,
one
Tej.
looks like you're smoking his... You're smelling his butt.
Oh. Ask the heavens and it shall deliver a French person. Omelette du fromage. Omelette du fromage. I gotta think it's like, oh, Putain de salsange. Putain de salsange. Wait, I have to say it more. I have to calm myself. Putain de salsange. Putain de salsange. Putain de salsange. Wait. I agree. It's like I just called for a French person to appear. Putain de salsange. It sounds so calm. Putain de salsange. I think I did Ziggs really well.
You did. Zig.
I want to do one. I want to go. Your mother has a wretched cunt.
Yap, 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 yap,
I just can't believe how much Shirley sounds like Shirley.
yap, 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 yap,
I
yap.
forgot how she sounds like already.
That's because she sounds exactly like that.
Yap, 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 yap.
Oh, Tej or Chloe, do you have someone you really don't like who you would like to be the rhino? The elephant makes me laugh every time.
You reckon you could flash a spear?
Anyone. It can't be snails because I knew there would be a snail and he's at the end. He's the very end. So it can't be
You
snails.
did a good job on the elephant.
You mean... It makes me laugh every time.
Yap, 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 yap. Do you reckon you could smash?
Anyone who's very rhino-y.
Yap, flash a spear. Yap, yap. Smash. You reckon you could flash a yap, yap.
I've got
Yap,
tickets
yap.
for the West End.
I could do better for Meg, I think.
Daddy.
Who?
Daddy. Yap, yap,
I've got
yap,
tickets
yap.
for the West
Yap,
End.
yap.
America!
Daddy.
Who?
Daddy. Yap,
I've
daddy.
got
Yap,
tickets
yap.
for the West End.
I'm just northern like. I prefer that. I'm just northern
I've got
like.
tickets for the West End.
That's the best one. Okay.
Motherfucker.
I love women.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I've still got howls. Snails is locked in. Howdy, I have to do. Chloe's done. You're done.
Oh.
I got to do Tej. But there's nothing really Scottish here.
Oh.
Oh, there's a woofter. Oh, there's a dog. I feel weird giving a dog a girl's name who I know because a dog being called a dog is an insult
Mhm.
in British.
Same in Chinese.
You dirty dog.
Who do you say that to a lot?
Flabby cats. But I don't want him to be a dog. I want him to be like dumber.
What about my mom's dog? It's called Wang Wang.
What? One.
Wang Wang.
I was going to call him Wishbone.
O W-O-N-G W-O-N-G W-A-N-G W-A-N-G.
I prefer that name, Wong Wong. It sounds funnier. But I had a whole thing for
Yeah.
Wishbone.
Okay, then.
It used to be a show about a little Jack Russell Terrier, and it used to be, "What's the story, Wishbone?" And that'd be what I'd do.
Hey, yeah, put that singing in there too.
But I like Wong Wong. I like that name.
That's a really common name over here. But
What's the story, Wishbone? What's the story, Wishbone? Oh, you want me to woof? You want me to French woof? Woof, woof. Or should I do like that?
exactly.
I'm gonna do it now. It's gotta be Flabby Cats. Awoo! 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 Awoo!
He did that too. He does do that a lot.
He does do it, so that's it. I got to send him it. Awoo! 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 He was... Oh! But now there's a cat. It'd feel like I was nicing someone by giving him the cat. I don't want to nice someone by giving him the cat. Yeah. But I can't really make the screaming noise that Lux makes.
Why not? Oh, Betty here Lux talk. It is a cute cat.
Alright. I could call him 11. Okay, yeah.
11's not that color though.
Wait. Those Lux. Oh. Awoo. 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 It's such good Flabby Cats noise. Oh. The noise is perfect. Oh. Oh. Who should be the bunny? Now we do have half Asian bunny in the server, but I don't want to give her one really. Ah, it's got to be Snowball, but I can't think of anything. I can't think of anything Snowball used to say a lot. She's just nice. Snowball's such a good name for a rabbit. Wait, there is such a thing as Scottish hares. You fucking bother. I need to do it without laughing. I need to do it without laughing. Ni fucking bother. Ni fucking bother. Gotta be as Scottish as I can. I'm trying to think of Scottish stuff to say. Ni fucking bother, lad. You wee bonny lass. Oh, go on, I go. Are you a wee jobby? Done. I need to go see her. Let's go see Teach.
Mm-hmm. Are you a wee jobby?
Are you a wee jobby? Fucking fantastic.
Oh.
Turtle. Ah, it's got to be Jimmy. I can't think of a name Jimmy makes though. A noise Jimmy makes. Wait.
Who's Jimmy?
Jimmy is Joel's turtle.
Oh, okay.
I need a noise he makes though. Otherwise, I'd just go. Ah! Yeah, that's even better. Wait. Ah! Ah! No, I got it. That nasty bit.
Oh. Oh.
That's horse. That's cow, chipmunk, and snail.
That looks like a giraffe.
No, that's a horse. Runs and runs, as that's the only. No, I don't know. It could be a cheetah. It could be a horse. I'm guessing it's horse.
Oh.
Bhutan to salsa. Aha. Aha. Bhutan to salsa. That nasty bitch off this plane.
Flash a spit. Do you reckon you could flash a spit? Mash. Yap, 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 yap.
I live for one.
I'm just
I've
northern
got
like.
tickets for the West End.
Yeah.
America.
Daddy, daddy, daddy.
Northern
I've
like?
got still got to do howdy.
Oh yeah.
I've got tickets for the West End.
You need to show this
I've
to
got
Max
tickets.
on his hair.
I will.
Motherfucker.
I think my favourite two are Frosty Wyvern and the elephant.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
You a weird jobby.
Tejas is pretty good too.
Are you a weird jobby?
Are you a weird jobby?
Are you a weird job? Are you a weird jobby? Mm-hmm. Holidays are coming.
Oh.
Here comes the money. Go, money talk. Here comes the money. Dollar, dollar.
Thank you for the bits, Teach. Dollar, dollar. Right, have I got enough for the next? I appreciate it. Yeah, horse. Yeah. Who's a? It could be Howdy. Not for aesthetic reasons, but because Sheriff Howdy and Ride Like the Wind, Bullseye. But now I have to remember stuff Howdy says all the time. can't think of anything
I
she
don't-
says off the crack.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, like, from the games we played, like when we're doing face masks and stuff. Do I make you wet?
Oh my god.
I could use that. I just can't think off the top of my head. Let me look at a chat between me and her. She does say, I love just randomly all the time.
Just reminds me of her wearing a mask and
The flesh
that
collector.
whole human collector.
Yeah, the flesh collector.
collector.
Oh, no. No, I know exactly what I should fucking do. And I can't think of the words I want to use to do it. Oh. She speaks in baby talk. She speaks like widowy, absolutely, and stuff like that. Fuck, I hate it so much. I can't think of what
Do
to
it.
say. I can't think of what to say though.
What you just say? Put that in.
Howdy. I just said, howdy. When you do the widowy, what else follows that, which I hate? Widowy. That's it. Widowy. Widowy.
Oh.
Milk cow.
Who should be the cow? We're running out of people, so like, Howls has to be something.
Not the cows.
I might have to put Howls as the penguin and do Howdy as and Frosty as the chipmunk. Howdy could have been the cow because she dressed up as a cow all the time on Goose.
Ah.
I got one for Snails here. This is for Snails because I can't think of anyone else. Someone we don't like. You can't say skin flute.
Yap, yap, yap.
That's
Oh.
Can't say
Yap, yap,
skin flute.
Yap, yap.
Oh.
Widowy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't eat roadkill snails. I don't eat roadkill snails. I could have done raspy House.
I don't eat.
One of the first times I met her, she had a really raspy voice. She was like this. I could have gone, like Wazowski.
Widowy.
Chuck that nasty bitch off this plane.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
West End.
America. Now,
Oh.
what voice is gonna do for snails?
Oh.
Damn. 25k.
Using expensive snails.
Oh.
I could go with, oh my god, I'm so wet.
Oh.
Yeah, that's him.
Or,
Oh.
daddy chill. Or,
Daddy chill.
Oh.
show me your pee-pee.
Oh.
Or, mommy.
Oh.
Or I could do un pollo and soyo on punta.
Oh.
It means
Last one.
I believe it means I am a bitch. What you taught me.
Oh.
Un soyo on punta.
Oh.
I don't know what to do. My name's Sasha.
Oh.
Yeah, that one.
Joshua. Don't know whether to call it snails.
No, Joshua is better.
Joshua. I don't know what fun. I'm so fucking wet. I'm so fucking wet.
Your face.
I'm so fucking wet.
Oh. 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 Oh.
Alright, so now what? I've completed the game.
Oh.
Did I forget anyone?
I thought there's some.
Oh.
Widowy.
Oh.
I thought there's some
Widowy.
other places you could unlock.
Agoo. 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 Is there anyone?
Widowy. Widowy.
Agoo.
Motherfucker.
Sounds more like him.
The fuck?
I couldn't.
Agoo.
Widowy.
Where's the other place?
Oh.
Is it down here? I'm so fucking nasty bitch off this. Chuck that.
The elephant is so good.
Chuck that
Make
nasty
it more realistic.
Chuck that nasty bitch off this plane.
Oh.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Bhutan de Salsan. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Bhutan de Salsan. Uh-huh. Bhutan de Salsan. I'm so fucking wet. Uh-huh. Why does Chloe seem so sad? Why does it sound so sad? Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Because she's away from the water.
Uh-huh. I'm so fucking nasty bitch off this plane. Chuck that nasty bitch off this plane.
Oh.
Bhutan de Salsan. Bhutan de
Oh, I like
Salsan.
the frog outfit. It's so
Bhutan
cute.
de Salsan. Salsan. Bhutan de Salsan. Bhutan de Salsan. De Salsan. Bhutan de Salsan. Why is everything? Bhutan de Salsan. Why is everyone now Chloe? Bhutan de Salsan. De Salsan. Bhutan de Salsan. Bhutan de Salsan. Bhutan de Salsan. Oh my god, this hurts. Night, Chloe. Na 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 na. Holidays are coming. Da 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 da.
I've got tickets for the West End. I've got tickets for the West End.
It's so weird.
I've got tickets for the West End. I've got tickets for the West End. I've got tickets for the West End. Tickets for the West End. Tickets for the West End. I've got tickets for the West. I've got tickets for the West End. I've got tickets for the West End. West End. I've got tickets for the West End.
What does that do?
For the West End. I've got
The
tickets
animal
for the
in
West
camp
End.
singing
I've
in
got tickets for the West End. I've got tickets for the West End.
such an animal in personal space.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Blade.
Oh.
Bhutan de Salsan. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Chuck that nasty bitch off this blade. Yeah. America! Daddy.
You have to place on the wood.
Chuck that nasty bitch off this blade.
Oh.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Chuck that nasty bitch off this blade.
Oh.
Uh-huh. 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 Oh, so I can change all their noises to like different ha 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 ha. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Oh. Oh.
So fucking wet.
Oh.
So fucking.
Ohooo.
I don't get it. How
Northern
does it
Light
work?
tickets for the West End.
Yap, yap. Yap,
I've got
yap,
tickets
yap,
for the West End.
Yap, yap.
America.
Yap, 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 yap.
You can't say skin flute.
Yap, yap,
You can't say
yap,
skin
yap.
flute.
America.
Daddy, daddy. Yap, yap, yap.
I've got tickets for the West End.
America.
I'm just northern like.
Yap, 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 yap.
Ohooo.
Widow, yap, yap. Do you reckon you could flash a smash? Smash. Yap, yap. Do you reckon you could flash a spit? Yap, yap. Do you reckon you could flash a spit? Yap, yap.
Ohooo.
Roadkill snails.
Are you a weird
Yeah.
jobby?
I don't eat roadkill snails.
Ohooo. Ohooo.
Holidays are coming, holidays are coming.
Are you a weird jobby?
Ohooo. Ohooo.
I don't eat roadkill snails. Widowy?
Ohooo.
That's
Wi- A wee. Hurts my ears.
Widowy?
Ohooo.
Motherfucker.
Ohooo. I think these ones are my favorites.
Are you a weird jobby?
America.
I'm just northern like.
Widowy?
I'm just northern.
Ohooo.
Chuck that nasty bitch off this plane!
Bhutan to South.
Chuck that nasty bitch off this plane!
Bhutan to
Fucking
South.
Oh.
Chuck that nasty bitch off this plane! I'm
Bhutan to
so
Jobby.
fucking
Oh.
I'm just northern like. Are you a weird jobby?
I'm so fucking
Oh.
wet.
I'm just.
Yap, yap, yap,
I'm
yap,
so
yap.
I'm
fucking
just northern like.
Yap, yap.
I'm
Yap,
I'm
yap.
just northern like.
fucking
Are you a
fucking
weird jobby?
Yap, yap, yap,
Widowy?
yap, 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 yap.
Ohooo.
Are you a weird jobby?
I like the Vox, but I hate the noise.
Chuck that nasty bitch off this plane!
Are you a weird jobby?
I'm
Yap.
so
Fucking wet. Yap, 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 yap,
Widowy?
yap, yap.
I'm just northern like.
so
Are you a weird
fucking
jobby?
Yap, yap, yap.
Widowy?
I'm
I'm
just
just northern like. Are you a weird jobby?
Yap,
Fucking
yap,
Oh.
yap, yap,
I'm just
yap.
northern like. Are you a weird jobby?
Yap,
so
yap, yap,
fucking
yap, yap.
Oh.
Yap,
I'm
yap,
just northern like. Are you a weird jobby?
yap, yap, yap,
I'm
yap.
so
You reckon you could
I'm
flash
just
a
northern
spit?
like. Are you a weird jobby?
Yap, 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 yap.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm just
so
northern like.
fucking
Are
wet.
you a weird jobby?
The game ended quicker than I thought.
So there is my entire game. I hope everyone involved enjoyed their characters and my renditions of them. I will be posting this on the server so you can actually see what I think you sound like. There's a few hidden nodes in there for snails. Howdy. Widowy. But I don't know who my favourite is.
Yeah.
This one is, I think it is out of.
I'm just northern like.
I like that.
Are you a weird jobby?
You can flash a spit.
I'm just northern like. Are you a weird jobby?
I think it's out of.
Are you a
It's
weird
out of. It's out of these. That because it's just funny.
Are you a weird jobby? Are you a weird jobby?
I think it's out of these. I think it's out of these three. I think it's out of these two that are my favourites. I think it's going to be Wyvern because he was one of my first, and it's just so perfect when he got scared by his wife. It's so cool. I can see Joel in the background going, "Whoa, whoa."
Are you a weird jobby?
But I think the one that sounds the most like him.
You bitch off this plane.
That's just. If you've ever heard my cat Ziggs, this is how he sounds.